Imagine two people. One is a millionaire, the other a psychopath. At first glance, they seem to live in entirely different worlds. But what if I told you that these two seemingly opposite figures share more in common than you might think? Let's start with high risk tolerance, a trait that both millionaires and psychopaths share. Take Elon Musk, for example. In 2002, he sold PayPal for $165 million. Instead of playing it safe, Musk invested $100 million into SpaceX, $70 million into Tesla, and $10 million into SolarCity, leaving him virtually broke. That's a risk tolerance of 100%. Today, he's one of the wealthiest people on the planet with a net worth of over $200 billion. Now consider the infamous Bernie Madoff, who ran the largest Ponzi scheme in history, swindling $65 billion from investors. Madoff took colossal risks, not with his own money, but with the trust and savings of thousands. His high-risk game ended in disaster, but for decades, he lived like a king. Jeff Bezos had one goal: make Amazon the biggest retailer on Earth. He started in 1994 selling books online. Fast forward to today, Amazon is a $1 trillion company handling 1.6 million packages per day. Bezos' relentless focus turned a garage startup into a global empire. On the darker side, we have Ted Bundy, one of the most notorious psychopaths in history. Bundy had a different goal: control and dominance over his victims. He was meticulous, escaping custody twice and evading capture for years. His drive to achieve his twisted objectives was as focused as any CEO's pursuit of profit. Then there's detachment from emotion. In 2015, CEO Marissa Mayer cut 15% of Yahoo's workforce, around 1,700 jobs, in a bid to streamline the company. These decisions were necessary to keep Yahoo afloat, but they required a level of emotional detachment to execute. Contrast this with the clinical detachment of a psychopath like Dr. Michael Swango, a licensed physician who poisoned dozens of patients and colleagues over 2 decades. His ability to commit such acts without remorse is an extreme, but it highlights the same kind of emotional distance required in high-stakes environments. Charismatic leadership is another commonality. Think of Steve Jobs, who, despite his well-documented abrasive personality, was incredibly charismatic. He convinced millions to think different and created a cult-like following around Apple. His charisma was so powerful that in 1997, with Apple on the brink of bankruptcy, Jobs persuaded Microsoft to invest $150 million in its rival. Similarly, Charles Manson, though his methods were horrifying, displayed a sinister charisma that attracted and controlled a devoted following. He convinced people to commit atrocious acts, demonstrating how powerful charismatic leadership can be, whether in Silicon Valley or on the fringes of society. When it comes to the manipulation of social structures, few are better at it than Warren Buffett. Known as the Oracle of Omaha, Buffett uses his deep understanding of the stock market and tax codes to his advantage. His company, Berkshire Hathaway, paid an average tax rate of 19.2% from 2010 to 2014, well below the statutory rate of 35%. Buffett's mastery of the financial system allows him to accumulate wealth while minimizing tax liability. On the other hand, we have the Enron scandal. Executives at Enron used complex accounting loopholes, special purpose entities, and poor financial reporting to hide billions in debt. This manipulation eventually led to one of the largest bankruptcies in history, wiping out $74 billion in shareholder value and destroying the company. Finally, there's the sense of superiority. Take the case of Steve Cohen, a hedge fund manager whose firm, SAC Capital Advisors, was fined $1.8 billion for insider trading. Cohen's sense of superiority and belief that he was above the law led to illegal practices that eventually caught up with him. Despite the scandal, Cohen's personal net worth is still over $17 billion. Similarly, the notorious criminal Ted Kaczynski, also known as the Unabomber, believed he was intellectually superior to society. His manifesto expressed his disdain for the modern world and his belief in his moral and intellectual superiority, leading to a deadly bombing campaign that lasted nearly 2 decades. So what do millionaires and psychopaths have in common? Both navigate the world with a unique blend of risk tolerance, goal-oriented behavior, emotional detachment, charisma, manipulation, and a sense of superiority. Whether their path leads to a boardroom or a courtroom, these traits can propel them to the top or send them crashing down. In the end, the line between success and infamy is thinner than we think, and sometimes it's the same traits that make us admire one person that make us fear another.